Welcome to the Sling method gait analysis, where I show you how we do gait analysis in the Sling method. So we start things off here with the sideways on view. And what we do here is look at the slow motion action of the runner, i.e. you, through your running gait cycle just a few times. And we get a general feel for how you are moving. Now as we look at this runner here, we see there's a slight forward lean, there's a slight overstride, definitely landing with a heel strike, which we know is not a bad thing. However, we are seeing that this runner is landing with a forward traveling leg at the time of initial contact, which we definitely want to do some work on that to change that to a backward traveling leg. Now we also see a slight anterior pelvic tilt, and we're going to see, of course, different things in the different views that we look at. Now we go to the screenshots here and we start things off with the initial contact. Now we always do the left leg first, and we can see here we've got a slight overstride landing on a forward traveling leg, and the forward lean is not really excessive, although we will look at that at the mid stance as well. Initial contact on the right leg, again slight overstride there. We can see the heel slightly in front of the knee there, represented with the red and the green lines, and we're also landing on a forward traveling leg as well. So we go to the mid stance, and here we can see we draw a straight line up from the middle of the ankle through the pelvis up, and we can see that the ear is slightly in front of that red line, which is not a big deal here. If it was too far forwards, we'd look to really work on that. Now here it's almost identical, the right leg mid stance, nicely stacked, possibly a little anterior pelvic tilt to work on here, as I mentioned before. Now the trip switch is where the heel starts to rise off the ground, so we're going into plantar flexion. Now what we look for here is the heel rising, the stance leg heel rising, as the swing leg is passing, or the swing leg foot is passing the ankle. And as we can see here on both legs, we have a good timing of the heel rising as the swing leg is passing the ankle. So we look at the hip extension angle here. Now this is a tricky one. Now we're looking at the point at which the pelvis just starts to tilt forwards, and that's the maximum hip extension angle. And that's a tricky one to see, and you have to really look at this one a few times. So we're looking for the maximum hip extension angle before the pelvis starts to tilt forwards. And as we can see, there's just a slight restriction on that hip extension there. So we go to the rear view now, and we can see as this runner lands, we can see an ever so slight contralateral hip drop. It's not excessive, and we can also see how the left foot travels through swing phase pretty straight actually, and the right foot slightly turns out during swing phase. Left foot definitely has an issue there at toe off. Right foot, not so much an issue. Not bad rotation, could probably improve on that, but the left elbow definitely sticking out quite substantially. Now we can look at the loading and stacking. So that's the mid stance. That's when you have the maximum amount of weight going down onto your foot, your leg. And we can see that there was a definite hip drop. We can see here that this runner is not shifting the torso over to the left quite enough. And you can see that left arm out wide, looking for balance. The shoulders are level. That means that the anterior sling is not engaging very well. The contralateral hip drop there, just a couple of degrees, not huge. Slightly better stacked on the right side. You see that elbow is a little bit more tucked in, not really looking for balance. And the right shoulder is lower than the left, which indicates that the anterior oblique sling is engaging to rotate anti-clockwise. Now here's the toe off. So we can see that left foot, it's missing the big toe. The forefoot is actually supinating away from the midline, and we really want to see that foot rolling through the big toe. Now the right leg toe off, much better. It's rolling through the big toe. That's excellent. We're getting a nice pronation there in the forefoot and supination in the rear foot, and you can see how straight that foot is as it comes to the point of toe off. Now we look at the swing phase in the left leg. We can see that it's a relatively vertical foot traveling through swing phase. That's good. Although there is a slight angle there, don't want to get too deep into that for this. There is a slightly inward angle on that foot. Now here we see a slightly outward pointing foot through the swing phase. There's definitely room to improve on that to get that to more of a vertical situation as it swings through. Now, a lot of information there. So things to work on. We're going to be looking at MFR in the quads to get better hip extension, the TFLs to get better hip extension, the obliques to get better rotation, the glutes to get better rotation, the adductors to help that leg stay to the midline. And then the runner's rehab exercises to really help improve the posture, retension the pelvis out of an anterior tilt, and to isometrically strengthen the hamstrings, abdominals, and obliques. The basic 8 exercises to work on torso rotation, hip extension, and to stabilize laterally and engage the anterior and posterior oblique slings. Specific work to develop more drive in hip extension and rotation of the torso and pelvis to land on a backward traveling leg every single time. And lastly, the running drills to integrate all parts of the gait cycle together and help generate more connection and speed in the movements that we produce.